How is everyone doing out there? It is a Sunday morning random pop-up live here from the mobile studios. Once again, on the road. Don't forget, as a certified no boring trainer, I'm out in the trenches every day helping to design, develop, and deliver strategic training programs and actual sessions themselves. Today, my friends, today, NBT Nation, I want to unpack what do you do when every day is a new dumpster fire, every day is a new direction, every day somebody's got a great new idea, and as a corporate trainer, you are pulled in 1,000 different directions. You never really have a clear strategic vision, and you've basically become a vending machine. Somebody says, hey, we need a training, and next thing you know, you're getting your Addy on, and you're cranking out training, which is great, but it's all over the place. And then tomorrow it's something new, tomorrow it's something new. How do you inject focus and clarity, a direction? How do you tame the beast when everybody from the senior leader to field level managers to individual contributors are pulling you in different directions? How do you focus that? That's what we're going to unpack in today's NBT Live. If you find this interesting out there, NBT Nation, whoa, that light is way too bright. I'm obviously in the mobile studios here, so I'll try to get my lighting correct. Not in the main studios where it's all dialed in. Anyway, if you find this helpful, if you find this interesting, please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, drop me a comment down below. So very common when you're a trainer that either there is no emphasis on training whatsoever, that's the subject of a lot of other videos here on the channel. Once the organization starts getting focused on thinking about using training, it is super common where all of a sudden now everybody and their brother's got a great new idea. Every time the leader has a new direction they want to go in, you're being pulled in some new direction. And like I said in the intro, you become sort of a vending machine. You become very reactive to whatever the needs are. So what can we do as corporate trainers to focus the organization, to focus everybody, point everyone in a direction so that you can align with the needs of the organization, but that you have a coherent plan? Of course, in the working world, in the business world, you're always going to have to pivot, always going to have to adjust in the moment. But how do we tame the chaos? Going to give you some really effective, simple approaches starting right now. Number one, have a strategic learning plan. I've been talking a lot about this on the channel here and across social media. Having a strategic learning plan that aligns with the strategic vision, mission, vision, values of the organization. That strategic roadmap of here is how learning is going to be used in the organization. That is an incredibly important cornerstone or foundation to help tame the chaos inside the company. When everybody's like, we should do this, we should do this, we need this, we need that. If you have a strategic learning plan in place, everybody knows the roadmap. Again, knowing that you're going to have to pivot and tweak and respond to emerging business needs, but that strategic learning plan is such a foundational tool. When you sit down with leadership and get their buy-in and sign off that, yes, this is the direction we're going. When all of the field managers know that, yes, this is the game plan. This is how training works inside the organization. This is how we onboard. This is how we do job skills training. This is how e-learning fits into the equation. This is what micro-learning is, and this is when you should use it. This is what a development cycle, development process looks like for an individual job role. This is the training they need to take at that point. This is how we're going to measure everybody. This is the standard against which we're going to measure everybody. Here's how we're going to report everything out. All of that stuff. When you have that documented in a strategic learning plan that aligns with the overall mission, vision, values of the organization, I can tell you from personal experience, that calms everybody down. That focuses everybody. Now, a couple things on that. NBT Live, of course, we expand on these concepts a little bit. Number one, don't let that idea scare you. It sounds very overwhelming just the way I described it to you. This can be as simple as a one-page bullet point. If you have a small firm with 3 or 4 people in the office, 5 or 6 people out in the warehouse or out in the production area or whatever, you don't need to have this 97-page document. A simple one-pager that clarifies all this could be very effective. Obviously, the more complicated the organization and the more job roles, the more complicated it becomes. But it does not need to be overwhelming. That's number one. Number two, it is a process to put that in place. Even those strategic or even those simple one-pagers, it takes a hot minute. You got to meet with leadership. You got to meet with field managers. You got to meet with the frontline folks. You got to really understand the organization. You have to put everything together. You have to present it. There has to be discussion. You have to get consensus and buy-in. You have to be willing to, adjust to the direction of your leadership. All of that stuff. It takes a hot minute to put that in place. So when I say strategic learning plan, that doesn't happen overnight. But if you start down that road, I assure you, you will start to tame the chaos. Let me see here. Looks like we've got some comments. Oh, wow, 7 people out there. Great to see everyone. Great to see everybody hopping in. Hello out there to you, YCHOH, or sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that, but great to have you along with us here this morning. We're talking about how do you tame the chaos as a trainer? How do you focus the organization where the organization is all over the place and every day it's a new idea, a new direction? Start with that strategic learning plan. Put that in place, get the agreement to that, start messaging about that, start training everybody about what the training plan is, explain it. You'll have to explain it again and again and again. That's actually the third point I wanted to make. Strategic learning plan, not only does it take time to craft it and get agreement and put it in place, it takes time to get everybody comfortable with it as well. So when you have, that's a process. It takes time. Even in those small firms that I mentioned a minute ago, it takes time to get everybody comfortable with that. And, oh, okay, it's been about 3 months. That means I need to go take this e-learning module. It's been about 3 months. I need to go take this quick, 30-minute course, whatever. It takes communication on our part. So once the heavy lifting of building the plan and getting it in place is done, don't stop, trainers. You have to continually remind. Repetition is our friend, right? So use that for your strategic learning plan. But that's point number one today. How do you tame the chaos in your organization? Every day, every minute, it's a new idea, a new direction. A strategic learning plan is step number one. Step number two, hot tip here on a Sunday morning random pop-up live. Network. You have to network inside the organization. And as I go through these points, let me know. Leave me a comment down below as your thoughts, if you feel these are effective, if you've tried these approaches, if they've worked for you. Let me know. Drop me a line below. But point number two is the importance of networking. Networking throughout the organization. The more you meet with senior leadership, the more you meet with field level managers, and the more you meet with frontline users, individual contributors, the more you will know and understand their needs. You will understand how the organization fits together. You will understand how this team interacts with this team. You will know how this process affects that process. You will know where the gaps in the organization are. You will know where the strengths in the organization are. You will know the superstars, and you will know the not so superstars. You will get real actionable intelligence from all of those people. Now, I want to be clear here. I am not suggesting that you meet with all those people and no matter what they say, you just start doing all the stuff they suggest. But the more you take in that information, put it into your strategic learning plan, the more you understand that, the more proactive you can be about your training. Whether that's training that is then added to your strategic learning plan, or whether that is training that you then pivot and do in the moment, either way, that is great knowledge that you can get from those users, and it allows you to start to get ahead of the chaos. Some quick examples. If you see a gap on an individual team, some comments popping up here. Great to see you out there. Thank you so much for joining us here. If you see a gap on an individual team as a corporate trainer, guess what you can start doing? you can start putting some training resources towards that if it's appropriate, but you're ahead of that curve. If you start seeing strengths on this team, you can take that, put it into a training, and then spread that strength out to other teams, or at least introduce that strength to other teams. You can improve the communication throughout the organization because now you're talking to all these different groups. So if you want to tame the chaos that keeps disrupting your training focus, because every time you wake up, somebody's pulling you in a new direction, you as the trainer go out and really network throughout the organization. I'm going to trust that most of you out in NBT Nation already do that, but if you don't, if you're maybe new to corporate training, you only do training once in a while, that networking is so invaluable. Not only does it give you information to make your training sessions more interesting, don't forget training needs to be real, relatable, and relevant. And you can make your trainings, all of those things, by talking to the people who actually do the jobs. That's important for sure. I'm assuming most of NBT Nation already does that. If you don't, please start. If you do already do that, my advice to you, and this is sort of a sub point for networking, start building a database of that information. Don't just have these random conversations. Start cataloging it into some important categories that are relevant to your organization. In other words, if your organization is really struggling with turnover, people come into the business, they stay for a short while, and they leave. There's a lot of things that can contribute to that, but as you talk to different people, well, if we did this, if we did this, if we did this, start documenting that. Now you can take that information. Not all of those, we should do this, is going to be training. Training is appropriate. You can't do training. Training is not going to solve a compensation issue. If the company doesn't pay enough, training can help a little bit with that for sure. It's not going to solve it entirely. But if you now suddenly have input from all the users in your organization and you now have categorized, here's the 10 things I learned this week about why everybody's leaving our organization. That's great information to then give back to the leadership. Now you're starting to partner with the leadership on that particular topic. That's just one example of how talking to everybody, and if you already do that, start organizing the information and then tagging it to some buckets, strategic buckets that make sense. What's affecting your revenue? What's affecting the profit? What's affecting the efficiency? What's affecting talent retention or turnover? What's affecting our customer feedback scores? Really start getting some data on that. And that's all part of that networking process I talked about. So here we are, Sunday Morning Live. How do we as trainers inject calm and focus into an organization, into a company that's all over the place, and every day they're going in a new direction, and we as trainers are now pulled all over the place? We've talked, number one, have a strategic learning plan. Number two, network. Number three, this one might be a bit of a hot take. Are you ready, NBT Nation? Looks like we've got a handful of people out there. Get ready. This may be controversial. Produce more content. Produce more training content. Now hear me out on this before you just bail on the live. As trainers, this whole discussion has been how can we proactively control the narrative and really partner with the strategic needs of the organization? How can we partner with leadership to help execute on their vision? How can we help support them while they're moving the business forwards? How can we help move the business forwards, right? If the business is going in all sorts of different directions and we are always reacting, start to change the narrative. The idea of producing more content, I want to be 1,000,000% clear for those who haven't just immediately bailed because I said that. I want to be 1,000,000% clear. I am 100% not saying just make training stuff for the joy of making stuff. That is not effective. That is going to burn you out, and it's going to waste a lot of time and energy. So I'm not saying just make stuff. But what I am saying is that if you want to start to proactively control the narrative and at least start pointing the organization in a direction, one of the things you can do is produce more training content that focuses that organization in a direction. You can follow your strategic learning plan, talk to a number of people throughout the organization, proactively identify gaps, present that to leadership with a completely evolved training package. Here's the data that supports that this is a gap. Here is the effect and impact of that gap. Here is who I talk to learn about that gap. And here is the training package that will help eliminate or reduce that gap. And then here is the impact of reducing that gap. If you start laying that out at a leader's feet, they're going to start to listen. They may not take whatever the first thing you should decide to propose and go, yes, absolutely, we're doing that now. You may have to take a couple things, but as you get very quick at putting these proposals to leadership, here is this, here is this, here is this, that are tied to what your intelligence networks are telling you, and is tied to that strategic learning plan, I guarantee you that over time, eventually they're either A, just gonna let you do it because, oh my God, this person's never gonna stop, I better let them do some training. Less facetiously though, over time you will hit on the thing that lights their fire. Over time they will go, you know what, that's a great idea, we should do that. And guess what? Now they're dancing to your tune. Now they're following your lead. Now you're starting to interject a little bit more focus and clarity in where you put your training energy, as opposed to everybody and their brother saying, wow, we should do this. You are coming to the table with, here's a direction, and here's the way you solve the problem, and here's the training. To do that, of course, you have to produce the content ahead of time. A little bit gamble, for sure. You might put together a proposal and leadership says, no, we don't want to do that. That's why we love the layered learning approach. You can take the material and content that you developed for that proposal and repurpose it somewhere else. So you got to be smart about how you put these proposals together. But it all hinges on making the content for the proposals. What do you think about that, NBT Nation? Those of you who have joined me on this Sunday morning pop-up live, leave me a comment. Let me know. Is that an effective approach? Have you used an approach like that? Produce more content. You can start to control the narrative by putting out content that helps the organization solve an issue or improve in a particular area. I mentioned before, talk to your networks and get gaps. Get an idea, get a sense of where maybe some of the weaknesses are, build your trainings around that, and produce the content ahead of time. If for some reason you don't have networks, there are some gaps that are pretty universal to almost every organization out there. So you can take an educated guess and produce content and produce these proposals. Hey, here's a gap and here's the training package to solve it, without being asked. There are some gaps that are pretty universal to most organizations. Leadership, 100% going to be one of them. Communication, almost always a problem. Collaborative work, almost every organization in the world needs to improve there. Creativity, that's another one that organizations are paying gazillions of dollars to bring in outside experts. But that's one of those perennial subjects. Motivation, that's another one that is always popping up. How do you be more efficient in the job role? That's another one that's, you start hitting on some of these core topics that are going to be universal. And then, like I said, you're putting proposals out to leadership based on your network, in what they're telling you, and your strategic plan. And you are proactively presenting to leadership. Here's a gap I've seen. Here's the data that supports it. Here's the impact of that gap. Here's a solution that happens to include training. So that is a great way to control the narrative, focus the organization. One more point on content. It can even work outside of this proposal idea I've been talking about, where you as the trainer, you go do the footwork and present it to your leadership with a, here's the gap, here's what we're seeing, here's the problem area, and here's a training package so that you can start to focus them. You don't even have to have the proposal and the this and the that. You, as the trainer, go talk to your networks. They tell you where the gaps are and where it's appropriate that training be used to solve the problem. You just start putting content out into the universe that's focused on the topics that are important based on what the leaders are telling you, the managers are telling you, and the frontline users are telling you. Why sit around and wait for leadership? If everybody and their brother is telling you this process is broken, go help them fix the process, number one, and then put together a training on the process. If everybody's telling you, we don't know how to overcome objections in the sales team, guess what? Just start putting out content related around that. Again, under this guise of focusing the organization, they will start to follow you. They will start to go in that direction. They will start to see, hey, that Adam guy keeps putting out stuff about overcoming objections. Maybe we should look at that. The leaders at the field level, if they see that and that truly is a problem, guess who's going to start supporting that training? Guess who's going to suddenly at the field level start talking to the senior leader level? Hey, that Adam guy put together a really great training about overcoming objections. Did you hear about it? Oh, he did? Really? Oh, wow, that's great. And now you are controlling that narrative. And when I say control, I don't mean you're telling people what to do. I don't mean that you're telling the organization what to do. But you are proactively, when nobody else can find the focus, you're going out and finding the focus for them. And you are talking to people, finding the gaps, and then you are just saying, okay, here is some content to deal with it. Now, one last thought. I think I already said that, but here's one last thought on content. Understand that not every piece you put out is going to wow everybody and is going to be amazing. You're going to have a lot more misses than you're going to have hits. That's just the way it works. So be careful. Don't spend thousands of hours putting together training materials to fix these problems that you've identified, to try to interject some control and focus for training effort. Be careful. Don't invest thousands of hours. Get really good at quickly producing quality content that is very interactive. Think in a layered level. So don't spend 3 months putting together a 10-day workshop if that's never going to happen in your organization. When in that same couple-day time frame, you could probably put out 14 explainer videos like that, or 14 cool infographics, or a 3-page guide, or a 5-page or top 5 ways of doing whatever cheat sheet. So think about the layered approach when you put this content out there. Don't spend thousands of hours, and think about the right content for the problem you're looking at, and don't go overboard, because like I said, you're going to have a lot more swings or misses than you're going to have hits. And be open to that feedback. You got to be careful. That's an area that I continually need to be very careful with. You put some labor of love training content in the universe, and then nobody cares, or everybody gives you feedback, or there's maybe even some constructive criticism, and it's easy to kind of burr up sometimes. But you got to hear that feedback, because you're just trying to guess to try to interject this focus. So that's just one little subpoint of this overarching idea that if your firm does not have a focus for their training, it's on you as the trainer to start to pull the organization in a direction. And one way that we've discussed this morning is by you proactively producing content in a couple different ways. One is you go identify the gap, you put together a formal proposal outlining the gap, the impact, possible solutions, and one of those solutions is training. And oh yeah, by the way, I took the liberty of putting together a proposed training solution. That's one way of putting out that content. The other way is just putting out lots of little short contents. Just don't even ask for permission, just go do it. Start a chat channel, and just every day you're putting out something new. Start a shared folder, put resources in there. Use the stand-up meeting, the daily huddle, and do a two-second learn, or a little short learning in that daily stand-up huddle. start a little internal podcast, make an internal website, whatever, but you just start doing the content. Be careful with that. Like I said, don't spend thousands of hours, get really good at doing things fast, and make sure you're doing a layered approach on that. So there you have it, my friends, NBT Nation. Sunday morning, great to see everybody out there, seeing some thumbs up, lots of people online. Thank you for all your comments. It's great to see everyone out there. NBT Nation, let me know what you think. Would these work in your organization? Have you tried some of these approaches in your organization? Let's get a discussion going. Leave me some comments down below. Number one, have a strategic learning plan. It takes time to put it in place, a lot of work, a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth, but that strategic learning plan gives you the overarching direction. And now, as you repeatedly communicate and remind everybody, you are now all heading in the same direction. Number two, you as the trainer have really good solid networks in the organization. Make sure you have good networks. Don't get siloed in trainer land. It's easy to do, trust me. I gotta check myself before I wreck myself on a regular basis. But it's easy to get very heads down. And you're not meeting with senior leaders, you're not meeting with field managers, and you are not meeting with frontline contributors. Oh, great. More folks out there joining us. Thank you so much. Happy JJJJ. Hopefully I am saying your name, screen name correctly. It's wonderful to have you with us. So have a strategic learning plan, network. And the last tip, produce content. Don't become a vending machine. Don't just sort of make stuff for making stuff, just to make stuff. Talk to your networks, identify gaps, and then produce contents that you either present back to leadership as possible solutions to identified gaps, or you just proactively start putting out training and learning content around those needs of the organization. Your organization will appreciate it. The frontline users will appreciate it. The field managers will appreciate it. They'll start talking about it. They'll start giving you feedback. They'll start partnering with you. And next thing you know, everything starts to go in a focused direction. Coming to us from Korea, it looks like. Well, great to have you with us. So there you have it, NBT Nation. How 3 ways you can start to focus your training effort inside an organization. Let me know what you think. Leave me some comments down below. As always, if you find this content helpful, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up on the live, and don't forget, NBT Nation, I have a new ebook coming out soon, The Hard Truths of Becoming a Certified No Boring Trainer, where I lay out a whole bunch of truths you have to accept to be able to become a certified no boring trainer. It's really aimed at those who are trainers, those who are thinking about going into corporate training, or those who get asked to do training once in a while as part of many other job duties. That's in the works, coming out soon. Thank you so much, NBT Nation. Hope everybody's having a great day, and we'll be back soon.